morning. My name is Haiti, and I am so blessed and grateful to be in recovery. And welcome to our Sunday morning meeting. I am a compulsive overeater. I am a binger. I'm a purger. I'm a food addict who is in recovery. I'm also a drug addict in recovery. And we get together with a group of other friends in recovery to discuss what it is, how we got it, how we work our program. We are also not affiliated with any of the outside associations. We are just really discussing our stories of strength, courage, and hope. You are also invited to join in on the conversation. We live stream on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you want to hop into our waiting room, this is where we start talking about what's eating us. And for this month, we're actually discussing hope. You know, when we're stuck in our addiction, life seems very bleak, it's very dark. I'm speaking for myself. When I was actively using, I had two emotions. It was either good or it was bad, and I knew how every single day looked. I was going to be really busy and keeping busy, and when I wasn't busy, I was looking for reasons to keep my mind moving, so I didn't need to focus on me and how I really was feeling. You know, for most of my life, I've really been uncomfortable in the skin that I'm in. So it's always kind of fill that hole or that void with something else. If it was food, if it was drugs, if it was other people and other chaos, whatever it was, I always seemed to want to either be somewhere else or doing something else, or whatever it is, it wasn't being present in the right time and the place where I was right now and being happy. The most important thing is I just really wasn't happy. I thought if I was thinner, if my hair was a different color, if I dressed in a certain way, if I spoke in a different way, if I had certain friends, if, then I would be happy. And whenever I got things, I still wasn't happy. For me, it's really been, recovery has been a journey of being able to find out why is it that I have to time travel. Why can't I be present, making the most, living today, just showing up, doing my best without expectation and without disappointment, and being able to be happy just being who I am and where I am for right now. So one of the things that we've been doing is we've been having different workshops, and I learned so much from the people that I surround myself with, my friends in recovery. They have so much courage, they've got so many insights, they've been through so many experiences. For many of us, speaking for myself as well, we've been through traumatic experiences when we were younger. That's my story, not everyone's story is the same. But it all brought us to the same point in time where we are right now, where we are addicts. You know, and what is it that makes us be addicts is one of the big questions. You know, when I started looking at this, I went, why is it I keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results? And some of those things that I kept doing over and over again was that I was a serial dieter. You know, I thought if I tried this diet, and I tried every single diet, you name it, from cabbage to you name it, I have tried everything. I tried every supplement, I tried every pill, I tried every single diet. And the weirdest thing is I could lose weight, I could lose 80 pounds, I had the willpower for a period of time, I was gung-ho, I was feeling great, and all of a sudden I fell off the wagon and I couldn't keep going on that trajectory. And the minute that I stopped doing that, everything fell apart. I started becoming demoralized, I started feeling guilty, I started feeling ashamed. Why couldn't I have the willpower and do this that I'm supposed to do like everyone else? I'm an addict. If diets work for me, the first diet would have worked. If it was just a matter of behavior modification, I would have lost the weight, kept it off, and never had to diet again. That's not me. I'm an obsessive compulsive. For me, I have that obsessive thinking. It's more than the food, because once I take out the food, it still doesn't take away those obsessive thoughts. I had bariatric surgery. My stomach is like this big. The food is not an issue in my world because I physically cannot eat that much food, but it's still within my mind. It's the tool that I use to replace those feelings that I used to stuff down. You know, food for me became one of the substances that I would use And it really is not about the substance. It wasn't about the marijuana. It wasn't about the cigarettes. It wasn't about the food. It's not about the alcohol, the gambling, the sex. It is, why is it that I need to use something else to change how I feel? You know, the other thing is I used to reward myself with food. And I used to do that to my kids. If you are good at this, it's my birthday, I just achieved this. Let's go out and eat and celebrate. You know, food became a reward system, and in my mind it still is. So I'll punish myself with food, I'll overeat, I'll binge, I'll then purge. So for me, food becomes a tool of either hurting or rewarding myself. So it really becomes a question of that's not what food is for. Normal people don't use food in that way. Normal people will sit down, eat a meal when they're full. They don't have to finish everything that's on the plate. They can get up and they can leave the table and they don't think about it again. They eat 3 meals a day. They might have 2 snacks. But the thing is, that is all that they think about. I go from meal counting down to the next meal and I go, I ate breakfast. What am I eating for lunch? What am I having in between? Oh, there's 3 hours till lunch. I have these conversations in my head constantly about food. I will lie to people about food. So I might be so busy with my chaotic life and all the stuff that I make busy that I stop looking after myself, that all of a sudden 4 o'clock in the afternoon I start lying to other people. Oh, I haven't eaten today. I need to grab this or do a drive-through or whatever it is. And that becomes, I start justifying it. And that to me is my addiction that starts speaking. I use food when I get anxious or stressed or de-stressed. You know, that becomes the easiest and most socially acceptable form of abuse, because I can't smoke everywhere and I can't light up a joint every single way and I can't shoot up every single place that I go to. You know, food is one of those socially accepted substances that people don't think twice of, because no matter if I'm overdosing on food, you don't know it. But if I'm shooting up heroin and overdosing on heroin, you know straight away when I'm doing that to me. If I'm getting drunk and falling down because I'm an alcoholic, you will see those behaviors, and it's a lot more on the outside, whereas food is a lot more surreptitious in a way that, and insidious, because no one sees it. We're able to stuff it and hide it for a lot longer and pretend. I'm the biggest liar. I'm the best pretender. On the outside, everything looks unbelievable. You know, so what I'll do is I can go and binge, and then I can purge to punish myself. So I can binge again, and it becomes this whole cycle of destructive behaviors that are so deadly for me. And not only is it deadly for me, when I'm doing these things, I feel terrible. I feel guilty. I feel ashamed. I'm short with my family. My mind isn't present. All I'm thinking about is, why did I do that? Why couldn't I do this? Why did they say this? Why are they doing this? You know, my world is so busy that I forget the people in front of me. I'm not connecting with them on an open, full, 100% present experience. My head is somewhere else. You know, I keep telling myself that I love food. You know, when I was in active addiction, food was everything. I used to go out with people to eat all the time. Everything we did involved some kind of a meal or some kind of a food substance. Today I can go out and go for a walk, we can hang out at the beach, we can go watch a movie, we can go play miniature golf, whatever the story is. All of a sudden there's so many different options and things to keep busy with when I start taking away that which used to control my world. You know, and as a mother, one of the biggest realizations was that I really believe that there are cycles of addiction, and I honestly believe that I wasn't teaching my kids or giving them coping skills. I would do the same thing to them. Let's go to the doctor, and after a shot I'll take you for ice cream, or you did one school, let's go get a milkshake, or whatever the story was. I would use food to reward or punish my kids as well. You didn't do this, we're not going here, or we're not eating this. You know, so I really believe that as a parent, my responsibility came, when does this cycle change? Because I come from a long line of food addicts. You know, I can see it in my grandparents, I can see it in my parents, I can see it in the way that we were culturally and socially driven, that our lives became about the food. So I started realizing, do you know what? It's not the food. My parents never equipped me to discuss my emotions. My grandparents never discussed theirs. It's not one of those tools that we started getting, like you go to school, you learn how to balance a checkbook. You go learn math and science. no one really teaches us to say, listen, I'm battling, I'm struggling, I need help. I'm scared. I'm really afraid at the moment. I'm lonely. These are not things that we taught to express or feel comfortable, because I was brought up to believe that when I said those things, I was less than, I was weaker, I was not what you wanted me to be, and you were judging me all the time, and that it was more important what you thought of me than what I really thought of myself. So really this opened up the journey of recovery for me, is being able to look at these things and say, why is it that from the outside, things look so good, but on the inside, I feel so terrible? So, One Way for Recovery is a community of friends. We learn from each other. And part of that learning is I stopped talking at a certain point. So we have people who joined us online. We have people in the room. And one of the things that we did at our workshop yesterday was we were asked to say goodbye, to write a goodbye letter to our addiction. And we have a friend visiting us in South Florida, Jessica, and it's so awesome seeing her face. And she's actually going to share her letter with us. And the reason we do this is because our addiction, for many of us, sits with us for a really long time. It becomes our best friend. It becomes our lover. It becomes that go-to. It's like us and our shadow. You know, we wear our addiction. We take it around with us everywhere. We show it off. It becomes that mate that's with us consistently. And sometimes letting go is one of the most difficult things, because sitting in what we know is so much easier and so much more comfortable than saying goodbye. So I've asked her if she'd be willing to share with us, and she said she would.
Yeah, sure.
Just to speak up.
Okay. So my goodbye letter to my addiction. Dear addiction, it's time to tell you goodbye. I know we have been together for a long time, but let's face it, our relationship is not a healthy one. It's time for me to cut ties with you and all other negative influences in my life. I'm ready to start enjoying my life and be happy. You served a purpose over the years. You helped me to effectively avoid feeling my emotions and helped me to simply escape reality. I'd rather enjoy experiencing life on life's terms again, instead of running and hiding and using you to comfort me. I have friends in recovery now who I can go to whenever I need a friend to comfort me. You were never a true or good friend, because friends don't allow their friends to hurt themselves the way you enabled me to hurt myself. I take ownership in my part of this dysfunctional relationship as well. It's not all on you. So now that I've said my piece, I must tell you goodbye. I have learned a lot of valuable lessons throughout our relationship, so I do thank God for Him allowing me to learn these lessons, even if it was a tough way to learn them. Farewell. And I'll just say a little bit about what Haiti had said earlier. I think food addiction is, first of all, I don't think it's recognized very much in the general population as an addiction. I can go out and totally stuff myself and people don't think anything of it, because it's just, you know, we have the, food eating contests and all these things that it makes it just like, okay, well, they're gorging themselves, but they don't understand that it can be an issue for people as well. So I just wanted to comment on that.
Thank you so much for sharing. And you're 100% correct. People, when I was very overweight and I was 150 pounds heavier than I am now, I probably gained and lost over 600 pounds in my lifetime. So what you see here is really not a real reflection of me on the inside, because I still see myself as a fat person. But I also know that when I was heavy, people used to look at me when I was squeezing into those airplane seats and I was really uncomfortable and I was sitting in a restaurant and eating. I felt that people saw me as lazy or having no willpower or something else other than a person who was sick and struggling. And that's really what I was. I was unbelievably sick. And I was really struggling so much. Every single part of my body hurt. It was really difficult getting up in the morning. It was a cry for help that I didn't know how to express. And that relationship, my greatest relationship and closest relationship I really had was with food. And if I had to sit there stabbing myself 100 times in front of other people, people would be horrified. People would have something to say. But when we're sitting there and we're at the buffet or we're in these places and we're just stuffing ourselves with food, no one turns around and goes, maybe I should chat to this person or talk to this person that they're actually struggling. And we also don't reach out to someone else and say, listen, I'm doing this because, or this is where I'm at. I so appreciate your letter because it's so sincere. And I've also seen how you've grown. What is the biggest change that you've seen in the time that you've stepped into recovery to now, to being able, because you've written, this isn't the first time you wrote this letter.
Right.
So the first time you wrote it to now, what are those changes that you've seen?
I think the biggest change is the peace I feel regarding food. I don't have the obsessive thoughts like I used to. I don't, like you said, count down to the meal or plan out what I'm going to eat as much as I used to, or obsess over calories, and just all the old diet mentality is gone, and it's more about acceptance that this is an addiction in my life and this is how I need to deal with it.
So the craziness of this addiction, and I just want to share a conversation we had in the car on the way here. So my day used to revolve, it would be a good day if that little scale said it was a good day and I'd lost weight, and it would be a really crappy, shitty day if the scale went up. So I was weighing myself more than once a day. Again, I was doing all these crazy behaviors, and Jess was saying she'd actually cut her fingernails before she got onto the scale. I mean, this is where our addiction takes us, to do these crazy things that we think it's going to make a difference.
Yeah, as if little tiny fingernail clippings is going to make a difference on the scale.
Right, and it's more that headspace that we sit in that becomes obsession, is how can I con me? Because at the end of the day, that's really where it's at. It's easier to look at the physical than to actually take it a little bit deeper. And that's one of the scariest things to do. I would love some feedback about the goodbye letter from our group. Anyone want to add something?
I'll add. Hi, everybody. I thought that great letter, Jess. I think that it's really an important letter. And it's kind of weird. I wrote my letter as well, and what was strange about it and great about it is once I started just writing the letter, and I have to be honest, in the beginning, I really was not into it. I was like, I'm not sure, this sounds, I was just kind of uncomfortable with the whole thing. But as you start writing it and the stream of consciousness just starts happening, it's really interesting what you write and what you find out about yourself. So it was a great exercise, and I encourage everyone to do it.
So isn't it interesting? The first time when I started off writing the letter, it sounded beautiful. Like I was writing the story for someone else to read it, like the world was reading my letter. And then I had to go back and really re-look at it and really write it again, because I think the more times we do that, the more in touch we become with the real issues that we're really facing, and the more authentic it becomes, rather than looking good on the outside. It's really, as you say, getting that connection with, getting in touch with who we are on the inside, rather than just presenting well on the outside.
Yeah.
So how was it difficult for you to do?
So I had resistance to it because it just felt, honestly, it felt really hokey to me. And so I was like, just kind of like, really? I got to write a letter, like a goodbye letter to my food addiction? Seriously? And so that was, you've got to understand, that was some of it. And then as I got into it, I'm like, I realized how it honestly is very powerful. It really is. And I like what you're saying, Haiti, about like, maybe sometimes for people, it takes more time to become more in tune with yourself, because you're not even aware. And I know for me, that's something that I'm learning to do, is to get out of my head and to feel more, because I struggle with that right now. But I will just tell you, even just right from where I am right now, it was really, really helpful. And I learned a lot from writing my letter.
And one of the amazing things for me is there are quite a few of us in this room that have opted to have bariatric surgery, whatever that looked like, the weight loss surgery. So it was far easier for me to make that decision, go see a surgeon, pay out of pocket. I'm one of the people who paid out of pocket for the procedure. And that was a really easy process. I made up my mind. I went, I did everything I needed to do, got it done, went for the surgery, had it done. It took me longer and more thought process to actually sit down and write a letter, and to agonize over it longer than it actually took for me to do that quick fix solution, which for me it was. I mean, For me, I thought this would be my solution that would fix the whole problem. But then all of a sudden, when I had to step back and start going, there's something else to this. And it's not a judgment call, because for me, it's what I did and it's done and it's brought me to where I am today. But for me, it was all of a sudden a realization, well, I didn't fix everything and maybe there's something else. And the stuff that I've been resisting the longest, because I thought I'd fixed it. You know, I thought this would be the magic solution to everything, and it wasn't. And the hardest part and the easiest part, it's hard work. Recovery is not easy. But when we do it, we go, it's not as bad as I thought it would be, and actually it's awesome. After you finish that letter, don't you feel amazing? Like you just feel like you learned something about yourself. All of a sudden things start falling into place a little bit better. It's kind of like building blocks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, it is. I look at it now. I really learned a lot from doing this letter. Really did. So I encourage, everyone. I'm actually thinking about writing letters to all kinds of different pieces of my life now, because for me, it was that helpful.
So I have a question for you while you're up here, because I know that you've been going through quite a process. And what is it that firstly brought you into recovery, and what is keeping you working on yourself?
So what made me realize about like the whole recovery thing was I literally found this group one day. I was in a Facebook group. I had bariatric surgery as well. And so I was in a Facebook group, and you and Felice popped up and you were talking. And so there was something, and you were talking about food addiction, and I had never really heard anything about food addiction. And you were talking about abstinence and how there are people who cannot do moderation, right? And it's like how alcoholics cannot do moderation. And that something about that just made sense to me in a way nothing else had. It made sense why I've done every diet on the planet. Like you, I had bariatric surgery, I paid out of pocket. I mean, all of it. But it made sense why all those years I could not do moderation. Just couldn't. I gain, lose. So that's how I found the group, and that's how the whole recovery thing started. And I think what keeps me working on it is the community, and the fact that I do have hope that I'll get better. And I don't think I really realize, I'll be honest, I'm always up in my head, and I don't think I realized, I don't feel things like other people feel things. I feel happy things. So there's certain acceptable things that I feel, but I'm really learning now how to feel more deeply. And I think when I hear other people talk about their recovery and the joy that they feel and the peace, that's what keeps me coming back, because I want some of that. That's it.
Thanks. Jessica wanted to add to this. Thank you. Yeah. You're so insightful.
Yes, I can identify with what you said about moderation. That was the big switching point for me as well, because that was my biggest struggle, that I couldn't do moderation. And the treatment programs that I had tried in the past, like years ago, multiple times, taught moderation. And so I just felt I was never going to recover because I couldn't do moderation. And so I felt like I was failing until I realized it's not, for me, it's not a disorder, it was an addiction. And I think there's a definite difference there. So I can definitely identify with that. Thanks for sharing that.
And also, I think there's that false sense of security that we get, that, there's a huge difference in perception for me when I'm actively using as opposed to being in recovery. And when I'm actively using, and I went and I started, whatever it is, diet, surgery, whatever it is, for a period of time, I think I've got it. I think I've solved and cured the problem, and the if-onlys have gone away. And then all of a sudden, when I fall down and nothing's really changed, then that total demoralization steps in. But that's not the worst of it. The worst part of it is when I start beating myself up. So that happens, and then that takes me to that's not the end of the story. That takes me to the next step of, how could you do that? You're a terrible failure. You're the worst mother. You're the worst wife. It takes me down this whole slippery slope of beating Haiti up and being the most terrible person to me, You know, the things I've done to me are far worse than the things I've done to other people. You know, and I think that's the most insidious part of our addiction. And not only that, because it's poo-pooed so much in society that people look down on it, or we look down on it. We are the people that make it this insidious, ha-ha kind of addiction. You know, everything else is a worse addiction than ours. That we look down on it, which in the long sense makes it so much more difficult to step into it and say, listen, I've got a problem. And it's a real problem because I think it's not that serious and no one else does. Makes it a really hard place to come and talk to people and say, listen, something's going on and I can't explain it and I don't understand it. And whatever solutions are out there aren't working other than recovery. Recovery is the first step towards a practical solution, that there is something different and there is a hope for a different future. Jess, I would love to hear your input, love.
I'll pass.
Okay. Anyone else want to say something? Karen. Oh, Nancy, sure.
I know the topic is hope, and I just personally don't feel that I'm ever going to get better. I'm really struggling. I can't do moderation as well. I have to just completely abstain from the sugars and starches and sweets and breads and whatnot. So I'm not feeling very hopeful. I'm trying to do my best to abstain from those things. I'm finding it really difficult though. So I'm sorry, I'm not as upbeat as everybody else is, but I just, yeah, I don't have hope that I'm ever going to get better.
So Nancy, thank you so much for sharing, because do you know what? You speak from a place of honesty, and that's very courageous. You know, to be able to say, I'm not getting it and I'm struggling is a huge point. It's an opportunity for learning. And you know, I understand where you are because I've been there before. And what it is, there were a couple of things that I can say worked for me and that actually helped me. I am not that moderation person either. So in my recovery, it's very black and white. I've got things that I do and things that I don't do. And I also have, for me, my recovery is a perspective opportunity. When I tell myself I can't have this, I feel like I'm punishing myself. When I choose not to have something because it's healthy for me and it helps me feel better and it helps me not go down a certain route, because I know when I pick up certain things and I pick up those trigger foods, it takes me to the same place where I start having the craving and the binging and the purging and those same behaviors and that same craziness and obsession in my head. So when I just step away from that and really clear out my brain into a clean space, that's not even an issue for me because I've made that choice. You know, I don't feel like a victim. When it becomes the food's in control and I'm putting myself in that victim mode. But the big thing, the big thing for me is, in recovery for me, I couldn't do months and weeks and long-term recovery because that's how I did my addiction. Everything was dealing with, I'm scared of the future, I've got no hope for tomorrow, it was all this chaos. I had to deal with my recovery a minute at a time. So for the next minute, I'm choosing not to pick up. For the next 5 minutes, I'm choosing not to pick up. And then it becomes a day at a time. I take my recovery one day at a time. And for today, I'm choosing not to pick up. Whatever happens in the future is going to happen in the future. I cannot control that. But I know for today that if I don't pick up for today, it's a better day than it was yesterday. And I know something else, that if I choose not to pick up today, and I can find 3 things that I'm grateful for. What are 3 things that you're grateful for right now?
My home, my husband, I'm retired, so I'm able to travel and do those sort of things.
So So that's already an amazing thing to have. We got the opportunity of being here today. For many addicts, they don't have the opportunity, firstly, to travel. They can't get out of bed. Some people don't make it into the rooms and never step into recovery and live. And people die out there in addiction. You know, we've been blessed with the opportunity of doing something just for today. And whether that opportunity is not picking up, being of service to someone else, and if that someone else is us, that's also a huge step. And do you know what the weirdest thing is? All of a sudden, the answers aren't instantaneous. But my suggestion is that try this a day at a time. And my hope for you is that things start improving when you do one day at a time and you turn around and you've done it for a couple of days at a time and things start feeling a little different. And you start looking at this and seeing more out there than our small world. You know, when I was in my active addiction, my world was this big. My world was a very small radius. It was going to the supermarket, it was taking the kids to school, it was eating from meal to meal to meal. There was nothing else in my life. You know, my interests were very limited. The things I wanted to do, I never had any hope of things I wanted to do in the future because I couldn't think that far ahead. All of a sudden, I'm starting to see there's more out there and there are more things to do, but that doesn't happen overnight. And the biggest thing that you're doing is, one, you're showing up, which is huge. Two, you're being honest, which is massive. And three, you're trying something different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what really struck me that you said was, why do I have to time travel? I wrote it down. I am always living in the past or projecting into the future. You know, if I do this, then this is going to happen, and I can't do that because who knows where I'll be 6 months from now physically, and I won't be able to do that. So yeah, my head is always going.
So I'll tell you something interesting. 2014, the 8th of August 2014, my colon burst. I had my colon just out of nowhere perforated and burst, and I had septicemia. I shouldn't be here today. I should have died. I nearly never had that tomorrow, and I nearly never had that next week and that next month. We don't know what happens. You know, we have no control over what's happening in the next hour, even in the next minute. All we know is that we're here right this second, and to do our best right now to take that opportunity that we've been given of connecting with whatever is in front of us. You know, this time that we have is so special because nowhere else in any other time is it going to be us, the people in this room together right now, right here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can never duplicate what we're having now. And I absolutely get that, and I appreciate that, because I can sit and be having a conversation with someone and be playing on my phone and be thinking about something else and really not be present and not making the most of that time. And all of a sudden people die and people get sick and people disappear and we get sick and things change. And we don't get those opportunities again. And being present is one of the gifts of recovery because it enables us to enjoy the present time we're in right now for the moment. And they're not always happy times, but they're always opportunities for either learning or growth or whatever it is, and just being. So I absolutely appreciate. Yeah, Karen, sure.
I just wanted to share, when I have the most hope is when I can focus on the positives, for what I'm grateful for being of service to someone else, for letting go of those negative emotions that keep me down and keep me focused on, you know, things I can't control, like the past or the future, because I don't know that I have the future, and the past we can't do anything about to change. So when I have feeling the most hope is when I can focus on right now and what I can do in this moment to, to change my perspective and to influence my actions and control my actions.
You know, one of the worst things with my addiction is the time that I've lost. I can never ever get that back. You know, the time that I wasn't present when my kids were growing up, all those times I don't have photographs of being with them, all the events that I canceled because I had nothing to wear or didn't look good enough. Those opportunities with friends when their kids got married and stuff that I just opted out of. or places I didn't go because I was feeling so terrible and so sick that my addiction made me, what I was doing to myself made me so sick, some of it physically, some of it mentally. You know, the
Absolutely.
depression and all those other things. I've missed out on so much that I'll never ever get back again. You know, I'm 53 years old. I only stepped into recovery. I've been an addict since I was basically 10 years old. You know, recovery is a new thing for me. It's only really in the last year that I started getting it. People come in at different times, and my hope for everyone is that the sooner you get into it, the better it is. And no matter what it was, you are here now, and there is hope for the future. That whatever that looks like, at least we have right now to make the most of it. With whoever it is, our friends, our families, ourselves. I mean, we just have this opportunity, something we never had yesterday. And you're spot on, Karen. 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
I just wanted to comment on what Nancy was saying a little bit too. I just wanted to share, like, my goals changed with recovery. Before, when I was diet focused and the old mentality, it was more so focused on my looks and how I presented, more of my ego things. Whereas now it's, my goal is simply to be happy, joyous, and free. Like, those are, I think your perspective will change with recovery. It has for me.
You know, I had a realization at yesterday's workshop, because we're talking about making amends and actually cleaning the slate in essence. And one of the things I realized is that I was that kind of person who always had water left in the glass. So it was either the things I've done in the past, or the things I said, or what people said, and all those little resentments and all those little things that I couldn't let go of. I always kept them in my glass. So I never really started with an empty glass. There was always something sitting there, you know, someone else was responsible, or someone else did something, or I had said something, or there was always something else. It never felt from a place of being 100% authentic or present or just here in the moment. And I'm starting to realize that I've been carrying that around for so long, that at which stage do I let things go? Like, at which stage do I give myself a break and say, do you know what? Whatever's happening, I'm just like surrendering into this process of recovery. I cannot control other people. I can't control what's happening in my world for the next second. The only thing I can control is what I pick up and put into my mouth. I can control my reactions, but I can't control my reactions unless I know where it's coming from and why I'm reacting the way that I'm reacting. And that is what I'm learning in recovery, is why do I do the things that I do? Because sometimes I'm covering up my true feelings. Those feelings of being scared and alone and hopeless and whatever those other things are, those things that I've been stuffing down, those are the things I'm starting to learn now. And I can tell you something, I never knew what this looked like out there on my own. I never knew what this was like until I actually started stepping into a community and other people started telling my story, and I could hear someone else sharing and go, wow, I can relate to that. So sometimes just by Nancy, just by showing up and talking, you don't know how many people are thinking the same thing that you're just thinking now, and how many people walk away and go, do you know what, I just learned something, and do you know what, maybe there is a different kind of hope for my future. So sometimes being of service, that addict that we're helping is ourselves, and sometimes just by speaking, we end up helping other people. And it doesn't always take a grand gesture. Bless you. And you got anything to say?
Well, honestly, I wasn't paying too close attention because I was sharing on Facebook, but I think just you were speaking just now, and I did catch that little part, and I think that you were talking about acceptance, and all I can add to that is that I know for myself, that's something that I've been working on. I think it's one of the trickiest parts of recovery, at least for me, because, you know, we can, I guess as addicts, when we're in active addiction, and even when we get better, we're still used to controlling or trying to control everything around us, and we realize that, you know, getting better and living in recovery is ultimately giving up that control and just letting things work as they will. and having faith in the process that they'll work out the way they're meant to work out. And that might not always be what we expected, but yeah, I think it just has to do with trusting in that things are going to work the way they're going to work, no matter what we do to control or not control them. So.
And you bring up such a good point. I used to be exhausted at the end of every single day. I used to be so exhausted. I didn't have anything to give anybody at the end of the day. I couldn't even hold down a conversation because I thought I was controlling everything. You know, it took so much energy and so much mental and physical and so much energy of living in this chaotic world of trying to control everything. And a lot of stuff that I didn't have control about. I was living in fear of things that I couldn't control. I was doing things for other people to look good instead of things that just made me feel good, or things that I didn't know how to say no. I couldn't say no to people when I was the yes girl. So if you needed something done, you gave it to Haiti. No matter what it was, from the PTAs at the school to all the friends that I had, to my kids, to whatever it was, my family, everyone, I was a yes person. And at the end of the day, not all those yeses made me feel good on the inside. Some of them just kept me really, really busy and deflecting, or not wanting to deal or feel or do anything that came back to me. You know, one of the hardest things is starting to realize that we are not that powerful, and the world doesn't revolve around us, and we don't have that much control. And you know, the weirdest thing is if I'm not here tomorrow, the sun's still going to rise, and it's still going to set, and things are still going to carry on, and the trains are still going to go, and schools are still going to be open, and things are still going to happen. And if I'm not here, my kids, God willing, still have really healthy, happy lives, you know, whether I'm here or I'm not here. But the thing is, it's for me to be able to enjoy the time that I've got, because there are many times that I wasn't. I wanted to die. My life was so empty. I didn't see what the purpose of me being around here was, or I didn't see what is my contribution other than being busy, or why is it that I felt so empty on the inside that I had to keep filling it with other stuff. There had to be more to life than feeling this crappy. You know, and I think it was at that point where I need help. You know, God, just help me. Just please, God, make this different. Either kill me now and end this now, or show me another way to live, because that's how desperate I absolutely became. Liz, do you want to say something? No?
Can you hear me?
Speak a little closer.
Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Okay. You guys have touched so many things today that I want to comment on. I came to the meeting and I thought, wow, I don't have anything to say today, but now I do. First of all, I made a note to myself that I want to work on writing that goodbye letter to my addiction this week. I think that'll be beneficial. But what I want to say is I've noticed that I noticed that we have like thousands of people that watch these meetings, and I just want to say to all the people out there that are listening, and also to you all, that when I first started coming to these meetings, it's been, I don't know, maybe 3 months. I came into the room and I was really pissed off and angry, and I didn't understand why. And Felice always jokes and says that I was pissed off at her, but I wasn't pissed off at her. I was just pissed off at myself because I couldn't figure things out. And you know, Felice would she would say to me, well, you know, you're an addiction, and that didn't mean anything to me. I didn't understand it. And over time, I have begun to understand what addiction means for me. And I've also finally begun to have acceptance of myself. I can finally say to myself, look, I'm not a normal person with a normal brain. I have an addictive brain. And that has given me so much freedom, because I'm no longer beating myself up. I'm not saying to myself, why can't you just get this? You're such an idiot. You're so worthless. Why can't you get your shit together? Or, you're such a failure. I'm not having that conversation with myself anymore. And it feels so good. It is such a relief. And I finally feel content. I don't feel like I'm in the depths of despair anymore. So, when we're having these meetings and Felice and Haiti are saying, step into recovery, and that statement, for a long time, it sounded very ambiguous to me and very vague. I'm like, what does that even mean? But, and I can't even put it into words yet. You say, be of service to others and share, and just sharing is being of service, and doing your gratitude list. I mean, all of those little things, while you may not understand it when it's being said to you to do those things, that is what recovery is. And I know there's more to it. I'm oversimplifying it, but I just wanted to put all this out there and maybe, give some hope to other people that are struggling, and just share that this entire process has been very beneficial for me. And I'm just really happy with the progress that I've made so far.
Liz, I love the way you articulate things. You are truly amazing, and I learned something from you whenever you speak. It's got a way of being fluid and touching and just so honest. It's amazing. And you said something that really speaks to me. I think addiction is another language. It's not something that's good or bad or evil or whatever it is. It just is. It's not something that any of us go and say, do you know what, today I think I'll be an addict. It's not something that we got that kind of control over. It's just something, I think our brains are different and we are who we are. And I think being able to step into that is really a freeing experience, because all of a sudden we know the language to start speaking. Before, it's like talking a foreign language to me. I didn't understand it. I wasn't getting the signals. I wasn't understanding what it looked like. And all of a sudden, when I step into the community, people say things that make sense. To normal people, when they hear us talking, they think we're crazy. I hear normal people speaking. I think some of the stuff they're saying is nuts. I just think it's a different language. I think we just learn to communicate on a different level. And when you say that it is freeing, it absolutely is freeing, because it enables us to step in. We've done the research. Most of us come to where we are now having done lots and lots of research, of trying different things. I stepped into this room thinking it was another diet plan. Maybe I could keep using the stuff I was using and doing the things that I was doing, just not so much of it. Maybe this would be the answer, that I could still do everything, just not as much of it. Until I realized that what I'd been telling myself was such a lie. I bought into this idea that if I could, I would be, which made me feel less than. Because I couldn't do the things that normal people could do, I felt less than. I felt less than as a human being, less than as a woman, less than as a person. And all of a sudden, stepping into recovery, I go, that's okay. I can be the amazing, flawed person I am, with all my challenges and defects and all this other stuff that, do you know what makes me who I am? And it's okay. Because I put on so many hats. I'm great. I'm an awesome mother. I'm a great wife. I'm an amazing realtor. I'm all these different things. I'm also a drug addict. I'm also a food addict. I'm also all these other things. And it's like another thing that makes up the person who I am. And it's not a less than thing. And that, for me, like you, is part of the journey of recovery. And that's a learning. And this is one of the things, for a lot of us who come in, this sounds weird. I think when I stepped into the room, when I first met Felice, I thought she was nuts. I thought she was crazy. And when I started hearing people talk, I thought they were crazy. I mean, honestly, I didn't understand it. And then I started realizing I'm just as crazy, and that's okay. So one of the things that we had discussed, and people had asked us about it, is we do these workshops because that's how we learn and we grow. We do this to be of service. We do this to get the service is not only to ourselves as people, because I must tell you something, I learn a heck of a lot every time I do a workshop. It's like doing it another time, because we step in, when we work on our recovery, the person I am today is very different to the person I was yesterday and last week and last year. And do you know what? That thing can switch and change so quickly because I'm that kind of person. So whenever I do these, I learn something different. I connect with different people. So we do these because we're able to go into the subject matter a little deeper, because we're able to address personal issues and answer certain questions that we can't do when we're on a format like this and we've got 1 hour and we have to get through it and we've got so much to cover because there's such a bigger audience. So we do have a workshop. I'm just mentioning this next Saturday. I'm not saying it's a day, it's a couple of hours. It's an intensive workshop of, am I an addict? You know, what does this look like? Is recovery for me? You know, a lot of us come in saying, is this really something I need? So I just want to mention something. A lot of people need recovery, but it's not for people who need it. It's for people who really want it, because it takes work.
And even if you, some people were asking, even if you know you're an addict, you can still benefit from our one-day workshop?
Absolutely, without a question or a doubt, because I can promise you one thing. The things that we are doing, no one else is doing. If you ask anyone who's participated in any of our meetings or any of our workshops, there is no one else doing what we are doing. We are connecting people on a different level. You know, the one thing that I'm finding is that we recover better in community. We are learning through a process of honesty. We have Felice with all her wisdom and her guidance, and she is amazing at what she does. She is a CRSS recovery specialist. She's got a PhD in positive psychology. She knows what she's doing, and plus she's got years and years of experience. So she brings a lot to the table, and she's able to really pinpoint and delve into things that I, as a non-professional, cannot do. We also run different, you know, people come in at different stages. Some of us put our toe in it, some of us take it out, some of us jump right in, some of us have been in different places in recovery. But I must tell you something, there's something to learn with everything that we do, because I never became like this overnight. The person I am now is from a process of doing stuff to myself and being exposed to myself. The learning I'm going through is coming from other people. It's from reading, it's from participating in workshops, and it's from doing the work myself. There's a lot of work to do. No one's going to give you recovery. If I could buy recovery, I had enough dealers out there to buy enough shit. Okay, I would be out there on the streets buying recovery. It's not something you can buy that it's given to you. It's something that you need to work for. But I urge anyone who's got questions about this to step into the workshop. It is not going to be a waste of time. So just something else. Felice couldn't make it today because she's not feeling well. So we just want to send her lots of love and wish her better, and we miss her. And it's very weird being up here without her, because she is also one of my crutches. You know, I get very uncomfortable when I put myself out there. But it's amazing having people being able to do this. The other thing is, give yourself a break, guys. You know, we tend to be harder on ourselves than anyone else is in our lives. No one treats us as harshly as we treat ourselves. You know, the people around us are really doing their best, and we don't always communicate well with them. I know with myself and the way I treat my husband and I treat my kids, it would be so much easier if I had like a little bubble that had all my thoughts out there that they could read my mind, but they don't. So I think it starts with us being gentle with ourselves. The other thing is, we do have certain things that work. We ask you to do your gratitude. To say thank you for something is the easiest thing in the world. It starts off feeling like the hardest thing to do, but it's so easy just to be able to step back and go, do you know what? There are 3 things that I'm grateful for today, because my mind doesn't work that way. My mind, the way that I'm programmed and wired to work, goes into the whys and how could you and why didn't you and how could they and why didn't they and this is shit and this is bullshit and why not, It starts at whole crazy stuff because that's where my addiction takes me, so I can justify picking up if that's what I choose to do. So gratitude helps us shift that paradigm to be able to say, do you know what? Today might have been a tough day, but there are at least 3 things that were good today that I can actually focus on and shift that paradigm and see something a little bit differently. And not only that, as inept as I feel and as terrible as I feel today, because you know what? I have felt that I'm the worst person in the world many, many times. When I look at the strength I have today, at least I can go, do you know what? I achieved something. Even if it's getting out of bed, the days I couldn't get my ass out of bed, the days that I couldn't, firstly, either because I wasn't feeling well enough, or my body hurt enough, or mentally I just could not deal with another person or speak to a person or look at a person. We are now starting in a new location because we've only got a few minutes left. On Thursday, we are going to be in Davie area. So if you're in Southeast Florida, start joining us on Thursday meetings at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have our private group on Facebook called What's Eating You, and that's where we post our gratitude list, we post our strength for the day, we post our goodbye letters if you're up for it. If you don't want other people knowing that it's you that posted the letter, I am us, and we'll post it anonymously because we learn from each other. We have the workshop starting on Saturday. There's still time to sign up, and I highly suggest it. The other thing is be of service. No matter what that looks like, the world doesn't just revolve around us. You know, we make our world bigger when we do things for others. And it doesn't matter how little that is. Ask the person who's checking you out how their day is going. It can be that simple. The other thing is just give yourself a break. Take it day by day. And my hope for everyone is that they have an amazing day today. No matter what, don't pick up. And I just wanted, has anyone else got anything they want to say before we close out? Felice, we love you. Oh, speaking of service, Trimmer Agency and General Provision, who gifted us this amazing space. Thank you. Angeli, who's of service, Jess, Ahmed, anyone who stepped into service, you for being here at the meeting today. You are of service to me in my recovery, and I thank you for that, and I love you for that. I just wanted to read something. Felice isn't here. I'm going to close out on acceptance. I'm not quite sure where it is from, but it is a great quote. So acceptance is the answer to all my challenges today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. Until I accept my addiction, I could not stay clean. Unless I accept life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to change in the world,